human beings, the way that our brains work, your brain, my brain, every brain of everybody listening right now, the way our brains work is we want simple answers to complex questions. Yeah. It's what we desire, right? Just think about if you're a parent or if you're an aunt or an uncle, if you've ever talked to a child, children will ask these complicated questions, right? Where do babies come from? And we always want to give them a very simple, basic answer, right? Well, when a mommy and a daddy love each other, a stork gives you a baby, whatever, right? So the reason that we do that to children is because that's what we in our brains want ourselves as adults. When you go and talk to your boss and you ask your boss for a raise, you just want the answer yes. But instead you get some answer about like, well, I don't know, I've got to review your performance metrics and I've got to see how you've been. And there's some other people who are in line. Like, we don't like complexity. We like simplicity. Well, the problem is that politicians understand how the human brain works and they manipulate their messaging. You got two things at play here, messaging and narrative. Messaging is something that you do that triggers emotion. Narrative is something that you build with multiple emotional messages. So you hear people all the time talk about the public narrative, the government narrative. They're not necessarily wrong, except that what they're actually talking about is messaging. So when you've got mayors who are claiming that something is race-based, they're creating a message. That message is emotional because people get very emotional about race. But overall, what they're trying to do is paint a narrative. And that narrative is something that is more logical and rational, but built on an emotional foundation. So they might say, immigrants are being sent here because we're Black. That's a emotional message. But the narrative overall is that there are other states in our country that are not being responsible. So now, if you hear enough times the emotional message, you're going to land on the conclusion, oh yeah, Florida and Texas are crazy. Those states are irresponsible. Those states are not irresponsible, and they have a message happening in their state, just like you have a message happening in your state, right? It's unfortunate because race is a very simple solution to a complex question. So politicians will constantly lean on that to make a simple case that is not actually accurate. Right? The problems that we have in the United States are only fractionally based on the color of our skin. The real thing that makes some people suffer and some people successful in the United States is how much money they make. It's, a rich Black person, a rich Puerto Rican, a rich white guy, they're in good hands in the United States. Yeah. A poor Puerto Rican, a poor white guy, a poor African American, you're screwed.
Freedom!